Begin in Lower Manhattan, though, where closing arguments are underway in Donald Trump's so-called hush money trial. Allies and members of his family accompanied the former president into court today. Trump's sons, Don Jr. and Eric, and his daughter Tiffany were among the largest family contingent yet to show support for Trump at his trial. I want to bring in CBS News national correspondent Errol Barnett, who's following this for us from Manhattan. So, Errol, what have you been seeing today, both outside the courtroom, and also what is the defense trying to do to discredit Cohen's testimony?
Well, Lindsay, great to see you this afternoon. First, it's notable to see the largest contingency of Trump children showing up in the courtroom to support their father, along with some of their spouses as well. That's taking place inside as these closing arguments, the defense's first, continues. Meantime, outside, you have pro-Trump supporters with their flags. They're gathered by the dozens, as well as actor Robert De Niro, who spoke as part of a Biden-Harris campaign press event. He was here along with other Biden supporters saying that Donald Trump poses a threat to American democracy. So immediately in this space where I'm standing now, you see the two sides and how people are really riled up about these 34 felony counts against a former president. How is the defense trying to discredit Michael Cohen, one of the star witnesses, who was really the glue between the repayments in 2017 and the initial so-called hush money payment to Stormy Daniels? They're saying he cannot be trusted. Todd Blanche coming out of the gate this morning, making sure to make eye contact with the jury as he puts together a narrative he says discredits the government's entire case. Said, quote, he, speaking of Cohen, took an oath. He swore to tell the truth and to tell you, speaking to the jury, a number of things on that witness stand that were lies, pure and simple. And Blanche pulling out transcripts where Cohen said that there was no retainer agreement between himself and Trump. Blanche saying that's absolutely false. That's a lie, because there was a verbal agreement for Cohen to provide legal services to Trump, and that's why those 34 felony counts, which are based on these 11 checks and 11 invoices and voucher entries, are accurate in saying that Cohen is owed $35,000 a month for those retainer agreements. And he went on to say that Cohen admitted to stealing money from Donald Trump. The math, though, didn't add up as far as how much he says he stole and why. And so therefore, the glue to the prosecution's case is weak. And in Blanche's opinion, that's why Donald Trump should be found not guilty of these crimes. So the defense's closing arguments continue early this afternoon, and then things pivot over to the prosecution.
Yeah, interesting that Blanche is making eye contact, trying to do a personal appeal here in their closing arguments. You know, it's kind of a fascinating moment in court today, because Blanche asked why the prosecution never called Trump's sons as witnesses in the case. They were, of course, in the courtroom. What's the significance of that?
Well, to your point, you know, at a moment like this is a moment for the lawyers of both sides to add a bit of theatrics, to add a bit of color to what the defense says is a dry bookkeeping case turned into a criminal case. And so you'll see each side make eye contact with the jurors one by one to kind of gesture, you know, as Todd Blanche referenced the witness stand right here. He lied right there. Also imagine that in the front row, you've got Eric Trump, Donald Trump Jr., Tiffany Trump, their spouses watching, and he took a moment to say, why weren't Don and Eric called to the stand, since they would have had to have signed off on these, the initial hush money payment or the repayment of the reimbursement of $35,000. They would have had to have signed off on this, he says to the jury. So why weren't they called to the stand? He's making the point that they weren't called to the stand because the prosecution's case is weak, and they're actually trying to connect dots and connect things that are not there. This is the defense's last shot at making an impression with the jury to plant doubt, so that at least one of them does not believe beyond a reasonable doubt that Donald Trump not only repaid Michael Cohen, but did it to further another crime in pursuit of the election. That's the state violation, and that would mean that this would be a felony. So they're trying to stick the landing, so to speak, in order to plant as much doubt as possible in the jury.
Okay, Errol Barnett, thank you.